This is the second part of minting with Manifold Studio. If you missed the first video, I explained how to mint your own independent smart contract with Manifold. If you haven't seen it and have yet to mint your own contract, I would encourage you to go back and watch part 1 first. If you watched part 1 already and found it helpful, I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe. So now that we have our contract minted with Manifold, we can use that contract to mint NFTs from the contract and then list them on whatever marketplace we want to list them on. So there are a few different ways that we can go forward with minting the NFT, and all of them will depend on your particular strategy and how you want to create a collection of your works or individual works that you can then list on a different platform. So before I get into the process on how to actually mint your NFT using your Manifold contract, I thought that I would point out a few of the features that Manifold has added over the last couple months, because I think that they just make the process a little simpler and provide some more transparency. So the first thing that I noticed is that the gas meter now has a helpful estimate on how much it is actually going to cost when you go to deploy your contract or mint your NFT from the contract. It also gives an indication on how much it costs to modify the royalties. Remember that anytime you're making a modification to something that is listed on the Ethereum network, you have to pay gas in order to transact with the blockchain and make that edit permanent. So what's nice here is you can actually toggle between Ethereum as the price. So you can see here the current price that it would cost to deploy a contract at 68 Gwei is 0.025 ETH, and that has a current USD value of $44. So that's just a handy little feature that Manifold has updated, and I know I appreciate it. It saves me the time from going to check gas on Etherscan itself and check to see if it's worth minting an NFT or a contract at any given moment. You can also now go to the Collectors tab, and the Collectors tab allows you, I don't have any yet, hopefully soon, it allows you to get analytics, it allows you to contact or send airdrops to your collectors. There are a few different ways that it's going to be used in the future, so I think it's interesting that they've added this tab. It promotes, I think, another element of the future thinking that Manifold provides. So I can go to the contract that I have already minted. Remember that Manifold allows you to mint between an ERC 721 contract or an ERC 1155 contract. If you're not sure of what the difference is between ERC 721 and ERC 1155, I would invite you to go back to my first video where I talk about that more in depth. For the time being, we're going to use the ERC 721, which is the non-fungible standard. And right away we can see that there is another update to the interface of Manifold. It's really nice. They now have a series of steps indicating what needs to be done in order to complete your NFT collection, your NFT, and your contract. So as we can see, I have already gone through in the last video and deployed the contract on Rinkeby, which is the test network, and I have deployed that same contract on mainnet, which is permanently affixing it to the Ethereum platform. What we want to do next is we want to actually use the contract to mint NFTs. There are a couple different ways to do this. The first is to click on the tokens button and click mint new token. This allows you to mint a single NFT one at a time. The next way that we can mint NFTs using our smart contract through Manifold is by series, and I will talk about that a little bit more afterwards because it gets a little bit more complicated. The first step is to click mint new token. You can select which type of file you would like to mint as an NFT. You can use an image, like a photo, you can use a video, an audio file, a 3D render, or an HTML, which is where you actually mint an HTML website to the blockchain. That allows you to get into more complicated NFTs, like dynamic NFTs, but we don't need to get into that right now. You can start by selecting an artwork title. You can include a website URL. You can include a description, perhaps some of the story behind the NFT. Why would a collector be interested in purchasing your NFT? It gives a little bit more context, and you can add properties. Properties are what can be used to sort different collections, different NFTs in your contract so that someone who is viewing your NFTs, for example, on OpenSea, can see all of the Astro photos that I have posted. If I include a property called Astro, then they're able to sort through and find photos that they might be interested in purchasing the NFT of. So let's get going. Click here and select the image that I want to use. The photo I selected here is a series of 9 moonshots that I took a couple weeks ago of the lunar eclipse. So this one here I think is a pretty cool photo. Maybe I'll mint it as an NFT in the future. And I can call this Rainbow Lunar Eclipse. So you can see that the status gets saved, so if something happens to your internet, or if you want to go back and deal with this later, it will auto save the state of this token so that you can go back and finish it later. So I'm calling this Rainbow Lunar Eclipse because, if you didn't know, when the Earth goes in front of the moon during a lunar eclipse, the Earth's shadow is cast onto the surface of the moon, and the light that passes through the Earth's atmosphere actually gets refracted, and you can see that in this sort of rainbow color along the edge of the Earth's shadow. So the deep red comes from light passing through the Earth's atmosphere, and the blue comes from light passing through the ozone layer. So I think that's a pretty cool series that can kind of show off one of the most interesting natural phenomena we can see from Earth. Once I have my title, I don't have an external URL that I'm trying to connect it to, so I can include a description, perhaps something along the lines of So here's just a little description. It provides some more context to the photo that I am going to be minting, and it can provide a way to relate with a collector. While we won't get into marketing strategy at this point, I think it's worth trying to consider how you are planning on marketing your NFT. What do you want it to speak to people? How do you want it to get people's attention? And how are you going to try and sell it? Really, NFTs are only as successful as the person marketing them, so the description provides a great place for you to begin to show collectors who you are and what you are trying to do as an artist. What's nice about using the Manifold contract is you can actually update the metadata at a later date. So if you go through and mint and notice that you have a typo, for example, or want to add it to another series, you can provide an update to the metadata. You just would have to pay some additional gas fee. So now we can get into properties. And what we can do with properties is we can add different kinds of metadata. The most obvious one is text. So I can add, for example, property value or property name. The property name is the title of the property, and the value is the specific indicator associated with that property name. For example, if I want to put a genre, I can call this astrophotography. So what this does is it allows a marketplace to provide metadata to the user who wants to view your NFT. So it can provide additional context. You can use it as an indicator of rarity. For example, maybe I only have one astro photo, and then I may have a lot of other landscape photos or wildlife photos. So by having something listed under astrophotography, it can be an indicator to a collector on the relative rarity associated with my photography style. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. It's also something that you can just amend at a later date as well, depending on how I would like to market my different NFTs. So there are a few other types of properties. You can include a number. You can also have a hidden property. A hidden property is one that's not displayed by a marketplace, but is instead included in the raw metadata of the smart contract of the token itself. So in order for a person to go see that hidden property, they actually have to go into Etherscan and try and locate the metadata of this specific NFT and then reveal the hidden property. For example, the hidden property could be a link to a place where the person who has located your Easter egg of hidden property to download a high-res copy of the image associated with that NFT. It can really be whatever you want, so try and think creatively if you want to include one. The boost number and boost percent have to do more with trading style NFTs like cards. So for me as a photographer, they are less relevant at this point in time. So now I will leave this as a save file, and I'll show you another feature that Manifold has added, which is very useful specifically for photography. So if I want to upload another one of my photos, for example, this is one I took of Lake Louise a couple of years ago. It's one of my favorites. You can see that it pops up as EXIF metadata has been detected. So this is a handy feature because now I can go through and include all of the properties of the metadata that I want. So I will select all now and show you what it looks like. So here's the photo. I personally find this one very relaxing, so I will entitle it Calm. And you can see as we scroll down, the properties section has already been filled by the EXIF data. So it has the camera that I used to take the photo, the lens that I used to take the photo, and the specific exposure settings. So you don't necessarily need to use all of these, but if you're uploading a lot of photos and minting a lot of NFT photos, it could save you time from having to look up all of the property values independently and instead can auto-populate it. So I will delete a couple of them because they are not as relevant to me at this point in time, but I'll keep a few of them here and I'll add the property of genre landscape. Okay, so I will mint to Rinkeby. Rinkeby is the test network, so this provides an opportunity for me to see how it's going to look on the different marketplaces, for example on OpenSea. If you have questions on how to deal with Rinkeby, how to get Rinkeby Ether, please check out my last video where I go through the process on how to update your MetaMask to include Rinkeby Ether. So let's click Mint to Rinkeby. So when you go to mint, this is less relevant for Rinkeby, but it will be more applicable for mainnet. You can actually mint to myself, or I can mint it directly as an airdrop into someone else's wallet. Remember before we were talking about collectors? This provides an interesting opportunity for an artist to directly send, for example, a collector a new work that they have. Maybe they want to create a new edition, and as an indicator of thanks to their collectors, they could directly send a new NFT to the collector without them having to mint it. But for now, I will mint it to myself. This is also a moment where you can choose if you would like to mint as an edition. If I'm using an ERC 721 contract, each edition will get its own unique identifier. So for example, as it says here, it will have the title, like this one would be Calm, 1 of 10, 5 of 10, 7 of 10, depending on if I selected 10 as the edition number. At this point, I'm just interested in having a single NFT, so I will click Mint. When you go to Mint to Test Network, it will automatically prompt you to switch to the Rinkeby test network. So I will do that here. Now that it has switched to the Rinkeby test network, I can confirm the transaction and sign using my MetaMask wallet. Okay, perfect. So now that it has minted to Rinkeby, I can go test to see how it looks on OpenSea. You can see that it's owned by my Rinkeby wallet with the artist name of Callum. That's pulled from my contract. And you can see that the description is here as well. It has also populated the property section with all of the EXIF data that I used. Everything looks pretty good to me. So I can check here, you can click on it and get the full screen image. Beautiful. So now let's go back and I will mint another NFT to the test network to show you how they look together on the blockchain. Let's add another property here. So this actually has 10 photos because there are 9 moons and then 1 for exposing the stars separately. You can see that also that the gas updates here and it tells you how much it expects to cost. Remember, like I described in my last video, you can get free Rinkeby from Faucet and it doesn't actually cost you anything. Let's click mint. Again, I'm going to mint to myself, and this time I am going to mint it as a series of 10 just so that we can see how the additions look. Huzzah. Let's check out how it looks. So you can see here that we're looking at the Rainbow Lunar Eclipse, which is the title of this one, under the artist of Callum. And I have now shown that this is an edition of 1 out of 10. So what that means is that each of these NFTs will have their own unique identifier. And that's because I'm using the ERC 721 contract, not the ERC 1155 contract. If I were using the ERC 1155 contract, it wouldn't say 1 out of 10. It would just say Rainbow Lunar Eclipse, and there would be 10 available. So now let's check out the properties that we can see here. So going down to properties, all of the NFTs I have minted to Rinkeby so far are all under the Callum contract, as Callum as an artist, so 100% of my NFTs have this trait. However, not all of the NFTs have astrophotography as the genre. Only 91% have this trait, and that's because I minted the COM one. So going back here, I can check genre astrophotography, and you can see that it is full of this NFT. But if I remove that limitation, it brings back the COM photo, which does not have the astrophotography genre. Instead, it has the landscape genre. So if I click on landscape, I can go back and then sort by the genre of NFT I'm using. So you can go down to the side here, see that there are two genres, and go between astrophotography and landscape. So now, in order to finish off the NFT minting, all I have to do is go back to my dashboard. You can modify the settings of a specific token. For example, you can set the royalty associated with the token. So what this means is every time your NFT gets sold from one person to the next, you can attribute the royalty of that sale back to you as the original owner. You can also have the royalties go to a different wallet, and that's where the token royalties settings comes in. You would include the wallet that you would like the royalties sent to here, the percentage of royalty that you would like, and the number of recipients that you would like. So for example, if you are working on a collaboration, you can have both artists receive a portion of the royalties. Perhaps each of them gets 5% of the royalty. One thing that is very important to notice is that OpenSea does not automatically set the royalties. You have to go into settings on OpenSea and do that yourself. So don't forget, because if you do, and someone purchases your NFT and subsequently resells it in the secondary market, you would not get the royalty. It's broken. So don't forget to set that yourself. So now the next step would be that we go forward and we switch to mainnet and we proceed with minting to the Ethereum mainnet itself. So to do that, it's the exact same process. MetaMask will automatically prompt you to switch the network back to mainnet. Wow, gas is so cheap right now. When I was looking earlier today, it was at 150 Gwei, which was, I think, 0.04 or 0.05. So that's something to keep in mind if you're concerned with costs. Often the price of gas fluctuates drastically, even over the span of an hour. So, like I mentioned in the last video, you are able to set the rate that you are willing to pay for to lower than the current gas rate, and the transaction will not go through until it reaches that lower gas rate. So that can be really helpful. If you're not in a rush to mint anything, you can try having it mint overnight and set the threshold that you would like it to mint at so you can save some money. And if you end up deciding that you want it to speed up or gas remains at a high level for a long period of time, you can always speed up the transaction and pay additional gas later. So now that we've switched to mainnet, the next step is to select the token that you would actually like to mint to mainnet, and that is where you would go and click mint to mainnet. So this is one where after it's been minted to Rinkeby, it's worth double checking your description, double checking your name, double checking your properties, because while these are not permanent characteristics, you can change the metadata later, it will require gas to update it. So it's worth double checking now to make sure you don't waste money. So at this time, I'm not going to mint this specific photo because I'm still building my collection. But the last step would be click Mint to Mainnet, choose who you want to submit it to, the number of editions that you would like to mint as, click Mint. So you can see here it's now uploading the artwork to Arweave, which is similar to IPFS, the International Planetary Filing System, where it's a decentralized storage location. So that's another benefit of using Manifold, is they don't charge you to upload to Arweave, so you don't have to worry about your NFT storage going anywhere because it's decentralized. It's split across multiple locations. There's no way for a single centralized authority to shut down the location that your NFT is being stored. I hope that this video on minting NFTs with Manifold Studio is helpful. In the next video, I'll show you how the batch minting function works with series, and I'll also show you how to organize your NFTs into collections. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe. I'm working on building my channel and really appreciate your support. If you're interested in seeing more of my work, I'll share a link to my latest time-lapse compilation. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.